Uh, Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unleashing Potentials podcast. So, joining me today is Olu Olubunmi.
That's
Is,
right, yeah.
is that how I say it? Yes.
Yeah, Olubunmi,
Olu
Olubunmi. So
Olubunmi.
yeah,
Yay.
Olubunmi, well done.
Yes. Welcome to the podcast. Where are you tuning in from? And tell us more about you and your story.
Um, oh, thanks for inviting me on, Bernadette. So I'm
Hmm.
tuning in from England, United Kingdom, and in not London, but a bit further north, called West Yorkshire, a lovely city. And yeah, I'm very, very honoured to be on your show, and I'm just excited to see where this goes because I just think there's so many people out there at the moment who are struggling with one thing or another or recovering from one thing or another. And, if what I offer today, what I talk about kind of helps somebody, then, that's my job done.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so happy and excited to have you on, because I believe our stories connect us. Doesn't matter which country, it can travel through
Yeah,
borders and make a
100%.
very powerful impact in many lives. Yeah,
Definitely,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. So
Yeah.
tell me more about you, your
Well,
story.
yeah, I was brought up in England. My parents came from emigrated from Nigeria in back in the 60s. And I've had a loving family, wonderful. And I think for me, and this is about finding myself again eventually at the age of in my 50s, but it was very much a journey of kind of feeling not part of things. Um, just different. And it very much started when I was only child. My parents worked very hard. Um, it was all about education. I had to do very well. They came to this country, and at that time there was, you had boards and signs up saying no blacks, no Irish, no dogs, no Jews. My family very sorry. My mum and dad are very. I do apologise. Wait a minute. Sorry. Let me just switch this off.
Yeah, oh, no, it's all good.
Right. So my family were very, very education orientated. As I said, come into this country as a black family. We strove to work really hard, do very well. So it was very, very disciplined. And I think I found comfort and solace in food.
Mhm.
And being an only child and a latchkey kid, my parents worked very, very hard. I'd come home after school. My mum would leave me, sandwiches, some soup, but I'd be quickly foraging in the pantry for other things to eat. Not because I was hungry, it was just it made me feel comfortable, emotionally better. I didn't know that at the time, but that's what I was doing. And I kind
Mhm.
of lived in my own little world because I was an only child. So I would be disappearing into books, escaping in books, escaping in movies. I'd watch a black and white movie, for instance, and I'd become one of the characters, and I would live that out in my head for days. So that
Mhm.
was me always escaping from life reality.
Mhm.
So I did very well. As I said, my family were very much, if you didn't get an A, you were a failure. So it was very much worked very, very hard. And it was
Mhm.
interesting because I always equated love with success.
Mhm.
So, when I did get the A, that's when my family go, we love you and everything
Mhm.
else. And if it was a B or anything lower than that, it was anger. So for
Mhm.
me, I kind of carried through life, all my relationships for a long time was to do with validation,
Mhm.
how well I did for that person or how well I did for others. It was never really about me. I never really did it
Mhm.
for me. I did it for other people,
Mhm.
right up into like my 30s, 40s. It was always about the other person. It was always about making sure everybody, I was the caretaker, making sure they were okay. And I think that's where this, even though I was very confident on the outside, my self-esteem was quite low, and I found food helped me. But then later I discovered alcohol. Um, and it was almost like the skies had opened and the heavens opened and the sun shone. And this helped me change the way I feel big time. So
Mhm.
alcohol was always my best friend. As soon as I picked that up, I knew this was not going to leave me. This was my friend forever, which
Mhm.
it wasn't. And
Yeah.
so sort of carrying through, yeah. So, that hole in the soul, not feeling worthy, but looking very confident. And
Mhm.
alcohol always seemed to end like it married the two. So not feeling confident, but looking confident. When I had a drink, they're both married. So for a
Mhm.
very, very long time, alcohol was part of, life, part of socializing, going out
Mhm.
looking confident,
Mhm.
being somebody apart from myself. And
Mhm.
that just, as time went on, the consequences got worse. And yet, mental health suffered an awful lot. I was very scared to, I always felt like I was in a state of high alert. The minute I left my house, I always felt that things were engineered against me, but they weren't.
Mhm.
I always thought, who's out to get me? Who's out to say something? Very, very sensitive, hypersensitive. So that's how I lived my life, treading on eggshells, making sure everybody else was okay.
Mhm.
And several times it just came to a kind of crashing end.
Mhm.
And I just knew that, I couldn't carry on like that. I couldn't carry
Mhm.
on like that, not being myself, drinking or eating. It was either one or the other.
Mhm.
Until I finally asked for help. And, as I was saying to you before the interview, that, as a black woman, we're kind of perceived as a strong black woman always. Well, you're strong, you're tough, you're this.
Mhm.
And it's never ever kind of revealing that, yeah, I'm actually not a strong person, that I have
Mhm.
vulnerabilities, I do have fragility. But
Mhm.
that is a stereotype of the strong, a black woman is, you got to be strong and you got to take it, and doesn't matter. And that was propagated also by my family, don't tell anybody your business, don't trust people, people are out to kind of get you as a black person. And
Mhm.
I found that very, yeah, I couldn't really, be myself around other people because I was scared that, that would be taken advantage of. And it
Mhm.
was at the end when things got so bad, like so bad. And by that time, I'd, so many consequences with my profession, with, going through a divorce, that, I did finally get the help that I needed, but I had to really get vulnerable and just say, I can't do this on my own anymore. I really can't do this on my own, and that's when the help, came. So, whatever it is you're struggling with is to be able to hopefully go out and ask for that help, because there are so many, good organizations, good people out there, and you're not alone. And I always thought I was on my own, and I
Mhm.
wasn't. There were so many other people in the same situation. And that's when I started to heal and start to get well. Um, but with anything, whether it's a chronic illness, whether it's mental health, you need that support. You need that
Mhm.
kindness, that care and compassion from somebody else until you can love yourself. And that's how I felt that, there was people around me to love me until I could actually love myself and start taking care of myself properly.
Mhm.
And from that time I was just very, very thankful and very, very grateful. And there was a lot of gratitude in my life
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for every little tiny thing every single day. But
Mhm.
it's that gratitude that got me through, and to be able to step by step start to live my life the way I want it, you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
and and be, take those little tiny steps towards being truly me. And it was
Mhm.
about finding out what I wanted, what, I liked, because for a long time it was about what other people liked or what other people wanted. So I didn't have a sense of myself.
Mhm. Mhm.
And, with time going on, it was starting to step by step kind of like Olubunmi coming out of the cocoon. Who is she? What does she like?
Yeah.
What does she do?
Yeah.
What does
Yeah.
she really want in life? And that's when
Mhm.
things started to take off. But for me, the most important thing is putting myself first.
Mhm.
And that was something that I never did. It was everybody else come first.
Mhm.
And the number one thing I was told is the first thing you do in any recovery is you are number one. And from there, everybody,
Mhm.
you can benefit everybody else.
Mhm.
So for me, it was, yeah, start taking care of myself, going out for walks, meditation. I took up all these different things to kind of help my mental health, help me feel hopeful and optimistic. And it kind of grew from there. And, I've just met some wonderful people along the way who, are very supportive and I can support them. And it's about giving back as well, paying it forward. And so life really has, just absolutely taken off. I've been, sober for 15 years. I've been free
Mhm.
of,
That's
food
amazing.
addiction for 15 years. Yeah.
Mm.
I don't need to kind of fill that hole in the soul anymore with a substance
Mhm.
a food or anything else like that. I can live my life on my terms.
Mhm.
And I know all the little, things that I can do to help myself when, curveballs are thrown at me and things don't go my way, levels of acceptance, peace in yourself. These are all the things I've cultivated over the years to really help me have, a good day or a good month and interact with people, knowing that I can't control them. I can only control myself and my reactions.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have got no control over people, places, or things. Um,
Mhm.
um, I think when you get to that level of awareness, then life's not so bad.
Yeah.
It's not so bad, but it's keeping that daily action, of keeping myself well. That the minute I stop doing all these little things, that's when I'll go back to, not feeling well, not feeling good. So,
Yeah.
I said one thing is just, keep working at whatever you're doing to help yourself, to keep well, just keep doing it. Um,
Mhm.
just life just gets better. It gets
Mhm.
better.
Mhm. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. I can hear so much courage in your story. You're a
Thank
survivor.
you.
You fought for for what you believe. And I can only
Yeah.
imagine what it was like when you first moved to England, right? Having to deal with racism, uh, culture shock,
Yeah.
probably, right? I know
Yeah.
I've dealt with culture shock, and it's hard. Um,
Yeah.
what was
It
it like
is.
in school for you? Did you get
Um,
bullied, or were you accepted?
yeah, the first school that I was at, it was very much it was in an area where there was it's very a high immigrant population. So
Okay.
there's a lot of Africans,
Hmm.
Caribbeans, Indians.
Hmm.
And it was that was fine. But then I think
Hmm.
my father came to a parents' evening
Hmm.
and the teacher said something that shocked him, which was,
Hmm.
well, everyone here, all the kids here are going to go into a factory anyway.
Oh, my
And my dad
goodness.
just went, we're moving. So they worked really hard to move out of the area
Hmm.
and move to an area which was predominantly white. It was white. So I had to go to a school I was the only black girl in the school, only black person in the school. And
Hmm.
yeah, it was rough.
Wow.
It was a
I
good
can only
area,
imagine.
but it was rough. And, for a long time, I was the one that got stones thrown at me and, names called and everything else. And, my parents were, you've got to stand your ground and go back to that school and get tough. And I had to get tough.
Mm.
Um, but that, on the inside, I didn't feel tough.
Mm.
But I
Yeah.
had to show it. So there was again, a big difference in what you saw on the outside and what you saw on the inside just didn't match up,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm.
and for a long
Yeah.
time, yeah, it was difficult, but I worked hard and,
Mm-hmm.
finally kind of made some friends.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a tough time to navigate.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Um, how has that changed your perspective on life? You know, how you were treated. Uh, going to school at such a young age. Um, what are some things that you gain from that experience? Obviously, it's not a good experience to go through, but I think in any situations we can always gain experience and wisdom and
Oh
teach
yeah,
others. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. And what did I gain from it as an 11, 12-year-old child? Well, number one, I realized I realized I realized I had a temper. That was one thing. And I had
Mm,
strength in carrying on, going into school and doing my
yeah.
work and doing the best I could. And, every day was, I'm going to go in and work, and things got better and better. And I think it was because of that determination. People kind of just gave
Mm,
up and started to befriend me bit by bit. And I realized at that time, and I remember a girl coming up to me and we were chatting, and she goes, I've never met a black person before.
mm,
And
mhm.
and that's when I kind of realized that, they didn't know. It was just for me, that was a stranger. It was weird. It was probably what their parents have, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
kind of intimated, and
Mm,
that people are only people and people do have their own fears,
mhm,
but it's up to me to, stand strong in myself and stand strong in who I am.
mhm,
So that was the first benefit. And I realized also I was a tough cookie and I did very well through all
mhm,
of that. I aced it.
mhm,
And I proved. And when I went to that school, they put me in the bottom set
mm,
because I'd come from a school, a high immigration school. And so
mhm,
they thought I wasn't up to it. But my dad, who's really, again, educationally minded, went to the school and sort of said, test her. I don't know why she's in the bottom set. Test my daughter. And they did, and I was in the top sets.
wow.
Um, yeah, because they assumed because I'd come from a background which wasn't as wealthy and as affluent that, I wouldn't be as kind of well equipped educationally, which again is a terrible indictment of our society.
Mhm,
And I aced it. I absolutely aced it. So, that I went from strength to strength there. And knowledge is power, and that can never be taken away from you. Never.
yes.
Well, that's
Yes.
one thing that my dad always used to say. No one can ever take education away from you.
Yeah, I
And
love
so
that.
for me,
That's true.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's one good thing. And it taught me to be tough in many ways and determined.
Hmm. So, what is your perspective on mental health now versus back then, when everything first started for you? What has changed or improved, and how do you see it?
In terms of my mental health or in
Yeah,
general, or
yeah, both yours and then in
um,
general.
I just think number one, I think it's very much everyone comes from, in the mental health capacity in different ways. There's
Mm,
different reasons for, a certain person's situation. I felt that for me, it was kindness and compassion to myself, self-love, self-compassion, which was very, very difficult,
mm,
and be able to give myself that and allow myself that and allow myself to deserve that was very alien,
mm,
but it's something I kept making sure I did. It was a little thing for myself each day. Um, so I came from a place where I didn't deserve to a place where I do deserve.
mm, mhm,
Yeah, for a place where I didn't feel worthy to a place where I felt worthy.
I love that.
Where my self-esteem was low to when it's high. And that was because of the work I put in. But again, with mental health, it takes a village.
Hmm. I believe you.
It
Yeah.
takes a village to get, it took a village to get me to where I am.
Hmm.
It took me many people to help me get to where I am.
Hmm.
But it's the minute I put up my hand and ask for that help, that's when I suppose God opened it up as well, led me to the right people or to the right organizations, and not to be scared, not to be shy, that, this is my life.
Hmm.
And, I deserve to be as happy as anybody else.
Mm,
And
yeah.
so, I I became teachable as well.
Hmm.
Um, listen to others that have done well and what did they do?
Hmm. Yeah.
Listen to the successful people who've, battled mental health or addiction and
Hmm.
what did they do to help themselves? And really hang around people who were getting well. I think that was very
Hmm.
important. You kind of have that, you imbibe it, you know what I mean? You kind of,
Yeah.
you soak up that kind of wellness and to hear their stories and to hear where they are now, it's just very, very, very encouraging, very hopeful. There was a lot of optimism. And that's what kept me going really is listening to other people's stories of, the successful recoveries.
Hmm. I love that. That also has, it kept me going too. And that's why I feel that it's my duty, it's my calling to pass any string of hope to anybody who's either been through what I've been through or currently going through it. Because
Yeah.
when we're in the middle of the storm, it's very
Hmm.
hard at times to get out. Just like you just
It
mentioned,
is.
it takes a village. But when we're in that space of darkness, it's hard to see light, even though we could be surrounded by people,
Yeah.
right? But when we hear, when we see uh, evidence of healing and proof, and when we can feel the love and heart connection of someone
Yeah.
who survived, then
Yeah.
it gives us hope. So I can definitely relate to you sharing your story and helping others because it's a
Mhm.
lonely place. It's very lonely. You can have all the family in the world or friends, but
100%.
at the end of the day, they live their own lives, and so do we. They can't really hold our hands with everything we do, right?
No, exactly.
Yeah, it's
But
the
there are there are
willingness. Hmm.
but there are, there's always organizations, there's always fellowships where,
Hmm.
people who are struggling with the same thing, whether it's addiction, whether it's burnout, whether it's chronic illness, that, we can get together and have that fellowship,
Hmm.
and to be able to support one another.
Hmm. I
So
agree.
that is there. But when, as you said, and I totally agree with you, when you're in the thick of it, it's difficult.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
difficult. But it's
Yeah.
just one step, and I was one step in front of the other. There was times I couldn't get out of bed, you
Mm.
know,
Hmm.
and sometimes it was a major triumph that I just made my bed. And that was me for the day.
Yeah.
That was like,
Mm.
even now, when I get up, I always make my bed.
Me
And
too.
it's like a big triumph because there was days
Hmm.
I couldn't even do that,
Hmm. Hmm. I
you know.
agree. And it's important to celebrate small victories
Yeah,
because some of
wonderful.
us, we want big results. We want massive outcome and put teeny little bit of work, right? I
Yeah,
believe what we put in is what we get.
yeah.
And
It's incremental,
yeah.
it's small steps, and
Hmm.
I keep everything in the day and I keep it a day at a time in the day. And sometimes it's in the hour. At one point it was every half an hour, every 5 minutes. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
that's what I had to do. I couldn't
Yeah.
think any further. I was too scared to think any further than the day. But
Mm.
what am I going to do for today? Okay, I'm
Hmm.
going to do this and this.
Hmm.
I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to make sure I eat. I'm going to make sure I have a shower.
Hmm.
Um, and that sometimes that was just my day done.
Hmm.
Then I might go and read a book and it was step by step by step. Um,
Hmm.
and that's all I could do. But I was told so many times, just keep it in the day. Don't project. Don't just there. You're going to be led.
Hmm.
If you've got a higher power or a God, you know, you know, we'll see you through. You just do what
Yes.
you need to do,
Yes, yes, I agree.
and the
I was
rest is
laugh I
covered.
was Yeah, I was laughing because I could relate to you, going day by day. Sometimes I've told someone if I have 3 meals a day, it's a really good day, right? Um, it's important to go baby steps. And
Yeah,
we're talking earlier how society or some people view us Black women as strong and we don't have weakness. And when really we are like anybody else. We feel fear, we feel
Mhm.
shame, regret, we need help, right?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah, we all need help. And I
Everyone,
yeah,
everyone,
yeah, yeah,
everyone.
all of us do. Um, Tell me more of what it was like. I've never been married or divorced, but how did you cope and heal from that?
Um, yeah, well, I was kind of handed the divorce papers, and it was I think I was quite numb, to be honest. I was kind of in
Mm,
shock. I was quite numb,
mhm,
but I knew again I had to look for that support.
mm,
Um, I didn't want to go through this on my own.
mm,
Yeah, the family were there behind me, but day to day, again, I had to just remember my routine,
mm. Yes.
and it just boiled down to simply keep it simple. Get up
Mhm,
in the morning, make your bed,
mhm,
make your food, make sure the kids are good. Just
mhm.
that's the backbone of it all.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
don't deviate. Just keep doing that. Whatever
Mhm,
comes your way, you'll be able to handle it bit by bit. Make sure you have the right, the resources, the team, your lawyer.
mhm,
I can hand those things over. I don't have to do this thing on my own.
mhm.
But my most important thing was my self-care.
Yes.
Because I knew that could have gone to pot. I would have
Yeah.
lost everything.
Mhm,
And I just had to just keep myself well, eat, sleep, make sure I'm hydrated, make sure the kids are okay. Done.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. And self-care is so important. It's in those
Oh,
situations that we realize how crucial self-care is. What
yeah.
is your input on self-care? Because so many people misunderstand the term self-care.
Um, self-care is making sure you're all right first.
Mm.
And that sounds extremely selfish, but it's not.
Oh, it's self-love.
Because it is self-love that if you haven't got the energy for yourself, your energy management, you can't manage anything else. So
Mm-mm.
for me, self-care is about your simple fundamentals,
Mm,
making sure you have 7 or 8 hours sleep, make
mm,
sure you have nutritious food, make sure you go out and get some fresh air, make sure
mhm,
you have in a busy day, you have maybe 10, 15 minutes minimum to yourself so you can maybe journal and reflect on the day,
mhm,
giving yourself time to have fun.
mhm,
Um, and having that sort of solitude, I think, is very important.
mhm,
That time away from family. And even if, as I said, it's 10, 15 minutes a day,
mhm.
having that, being able
Yeah.
to give yourself, a lot of the time I used to look in the mirror and I just hated myself, to
Mm,
be able to look in the mirror and, you know, apply some, nice moisturizer and a
mhm,
perfume and, things that, I never did. I never felt I deserved it. I wouldn't do any of those things. And just little
mhm,
things like that. Not, they don't have to be big or expensive. But I think the self-care is about self-love and it's about doing things for you that light your soul and like make you feel good.
mm,
Um,
mhm,
and that's it. But self-care can go on to activities and we've got a hobby or a pastime that's
mhm,
all these
mhm,
to make you feel like a kid again. We
mhm,
need all that, we need that child's play, we need the joy, we need the fun, and that's all
mhm.
part of self-care.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I've talked about self-care on the podcast on a separate episode. It was so good. I think I did two parts to it. That's how important it is. I
Yeah.
remember breaking down some myths and facts about self-care because some people think self-care is having to afford expensive spas or hotels, when really
No.
self-care starts in here and it starts at home and it starts with us. Um,
Mm.
we don't necessarily need someone else to show us what it is. They can teach
No.
us, they can do it
Yeah,
for us, right? So I
but I
love
think
that you do
that's
that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's more about that helps you with self-awareness. And I
Mm-hmm.
think becoming self-aware
Mm-hmm.
leads to self-love.
Yes, yes.
And
Yeah.
you start to find out how you tick, what you
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
what you need to have a lovely day. And it could be, as I
Mm-hmm.
said, waking up in the morning and spending 10 minutes putting on an incense on a candle and doing some meditation. That's
Mm-hmm.
self-care.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Having a lovely bath and putting some bubbles in, that self-care. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
to, as you said, it's not to do with money, it's the things that make you feel good, and they're simple. They're usually very simple.
They are. And, for parents, we put our kids first and we come last, which
Mm,
in reality, we can do both first. We can put ourselves first and the kids first. But
mm,
I know lots of parents, I struggled with that for the longest time, and I paid the
yeah,
price for it.
absolutely. Yeah, same
Yeah.
here. It was the boys first. It was the husband, the boys, the husband, the job, everything.
hmm
And it was always me last. And that's where my
hmm
burnout came, that,
hmm
I had
Yeah.
nothing left for me. And,
hmm
I was just a shell.
Yeah, yeah. Which takes me to my next question. I was going to ask you to, tell us more, what caused your burnout, just more in depth and details, and how you came out of it.
For me, it was always feeling I had to be, I think, as I said earlier, that pleasing other people,
Yeah, yeah.
that to please other people was a success to me.
Mm,
That if somebody went, yeah, well done, then it'd be yes, you
mm,
know, even if I didn't
mhm,
want to do it. So it was like,
mhm,
for me,
mhm,
this is how high I want you to jump. So I
mhm,
jump it and some. So my boundaries went.
mhm,
So can you do this? Can you do that? Can
mhm,
you, and I was like this Miss Multitasker running around
mhm,
for everyone, doing, kind of in clinic, just, going over. And it was always about over and beyond
mhm,
to prove to the world, to prove to other people and to get that validation back. Oh, well done. I'm so pleased with you and this and that. And it was always that. And it was always from when I was little,
mhm,
again, from did you get an A grade? I love you. And it was
mhm,
that all the way through my life for a long time was make sure that that person is well looked after, that they're happy, then I'm happy. And it doesn't work like that.
mhm,
So my boundaries went, I was working ridiculous hours, again, putting the children first, making sure they ate, I didn't eat, getting extremely tired, trying to just over everything was just excess, studying, doing courses, having kids, running around. And for a while, it was all right until the wheels started to fall off. I started to get very tired. I was drinking more. Maybe I'd be eating more or rubbish. Um, Till it got to a point where it was just like, I can't, and the wheels just went off. And
mhm,
then it was me staring into
mhm,
darkness. And
mhm,
it's almost like all my emotion went, I couldn't function, I couldn't focus. It was just like everything had gone,
mhm,
just completely feeling numb. And that's what I think this called kind of a meltdown. And I just had nothing left. I had nothing left. And I spent probably 9 months. I couldn't work,
mhm,
just 9 months of just this is when I got the help and I couldn't do any more. And it was just, it was horrific. But that was a burnout. That was a meltdown.
mhm,
And my body just shut down. So it just shut
mhm.
down.
Yeah.
Adrenal, cortisol, adrenal fatigue.
Mm. And thank you for explaining that and for sharing your story when it comes to that. Burnouts are very real, and
Oh,
they're very serious. Um,
I wouldn't wish it on
that's
anybody.
yeah. I don't preach for laziness, but I preach for healing and self-care. There's a difference.
Mm,
It's knowing and discerning when to stop when to go. Some of us, we don't know when to stop. And it's not our fault most of the time. It's the society, the culture, and where we are, the job, right? But yeah, it's important to learn to stop.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Learn to rest, learn
Hmm.
to say no,
Hmm.
learn to just be.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
talk about the human doing, not the
Hmm.
human being. Just be, not do all the time.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Um, can you touch a little bit more on your recovery?
Yeah. So, when all that happened, I just knew if I carried on after it, in my recovery, if I started to go back the way I went to, I'd be dead.
Mm,
Simple as that, really. Just
mm,
simple as that. That I knew there wasn't another drink or a binge or an overworking me. I just knew I was going to die.
mhm,
Um, and that's the end of it. And I think as I said before, that's when I started to listen to other people.
mm, mhm,
When I start, because at that point I was very much, oh, I can do it myself. I'm an intelligent woman. I can work out a formula where I'll just sort myself out. And I never did it. I tried so many times. And
mhm,
then that's when I kind of go, I'm going to listen to the people that
mm,
got well.
I love that. Yeah.
And and I'm going to even kind of emulate what they did. Whatever they
Mhm,
did, I'm going to do that too.
mhm,
And and that's when I started getting into good recovery. And then it was actually I feel really quite nice. I feel at peace. I
mhm,
feel kind of in tune with myself, more aware. And
mhm.
this is taking, I'm not talking about like next week or the week after. This was like a year later, 2 years later,
Yeah.
3 years, 4 years, it was still kind of, and then I don't know, all of a sudden I just started to look around and think all the things that I'd put in place, all the little
Mhm,
strategies to
mhm,
help me holistically healing, all started to kind of work and start to kind of
mhm,
it just became, life just became more beautiful
mm,
and happier. And it wasn't what was happening on the outside, it was all about in here,
mhm,
that this was starting to fill up, this hole in the soul was starting to
mhm,
fill with my gratitude and prayer and and really doing nice things for soul searching,
mhm,
being aware of my reactions to the outside world, that I don't have to react in a certain way. I don't have to be a certain way. I can say no.
mhm,
I can speak up for myself
mhm,
without get shot down
mhm.
and all
Yeah.
those things. But, it took time.
Mhm,
It took time.
mhm,
And, the last, I would say, it's now 15 years, that I would say the last 5 years is when it's just gone up and got better and better and better. But I still
mhm.
have to do the things that I did right at
Yeah.
the beginning, that I never forget where I've come from in that respect in recovery, because I know I could quickly slide if I'm not careful.
Mhm,
So,
mhm,
and it's not because I'm fearful, it's just I want to do it. I enjoy it. It's part of my daily routine, my daily rituals. So
mhm,
it's finding those little things, finding a program. If anyone, looking for a program for support, then getting your daily routine
mhm,
good
mhm. Yeah.
and
Yeah. Mhm,
making sure you get up, making sure you get up at a certain time, the same time every day, making sure you go to bed at the same time, making sure you've eaten, make sure and sometimes
mhm,
that's very hard. And you're just like, I used to struggle, but I do now do it. And I make sure I prepare the day before, I prepare my clothes the day before, I make sure everything so I can,
mhm,
so it's in deliberate a deliberate day, an
mhm,
intentional day. So I know where I am. I know I'm not going to go off piste, because everything's rushed. I have to take my time and, be around people I want to be around,
mhm, mhm. I love
you
that.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love your message.
And certain yeah, and I've had to prune friendships,
Mhm.
relationships. I've had to prune things I do that haven't been energetically healthy for me,
Mhm.
bad habits.
Mhm.
So I've had to really clean house
Mhm. Mhm. Yes.
and say certain things just have to go and certain
Mhm.
people have to go out of my life.
Mhm.
And, and to make me feel So it is about bit by bit, just pruning your life. So it does
Yes.
become simple
Yes.
and not stressful. And you don't have to spend your time with people that upset you.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm. Yeah.
so there's so many different layers to it all. But this, again, as I
Mhm.
said, it's just bit by bit by bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I can hear consistency. Consistency. It's continuing to do the right thing, even when you don't feel like doing it. You know it's
Yeah.
right, but you keep doing it. And
Yeah.
I call these people energy vampires, right?
Yeah.
They can be family members, coworkers, friends, siblings,
Yeah.
you name it. They just they suck the life out of people. It makes them feel better, and they leave that person drained. And that's
But
where
they don't
boundaries come in.
intentionally, I think many don't intentionally realize they're doing it. But I think it's getting
Yeah.
to, and again, it's about self-awareness and how do you feel
Mm,
about that person? Does that
mm,
person leave you feeling dejected or
mm,
irritated every single
mhm.
time? Or,
Yeah. Yeah.
is it worth your energy? That's
Mm,
literally it. And then you just have to go, no, it's
mhm,
not. And
mhm.
taking that
Yeah.
step back
Mhm.
and learning to
Yeah.
say no is,
Yeah.
no is a complete sentence.
Yeah. We live in a yes, yes society. Go, go, go. Please, please, pleasing people.
But
Um,
I
yeah.
found that when I've had to say no to something, it's not that bad. It's all right. It's us
Mhm,
thinking, oh, the whole world's going to come to an end and they're going to be so disappointed and everything else. And it's like, okay, that's fine. That's all
mhm,
right. That's
mhm.
it. Yeah, but we've made this big image of, oh my goodness, the whole world's going to crashing down because I've said no to a situation or a work thing or a person thing.
Mhm. Yeah. Sometimes it has to do with how that person was raised.
Mm,
If there was never any boundaries, between the family or parents, they always had to say yes to please or to make certain things happen. I find, from my experience at least, in adulthood, it was hard. I had to stop the break when my health was in danger, if that makes sense,
yeah,
right? That was a wake up
100%.
call.
Yeah,
It
total
was a
sense.
wake up call to do something, right? And
Mm,
like you've done, I've pruned people prune me. I'm like, thank you for pruning me because I don't have to prune you, right? It's finding peace and in the unknown, I would say, knowing
yeah,
that what you do is for the best interests of either your family and definitely yourself, right? Just
yeah.
finding the balance. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Finding that balance, finding the common ground, and just,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just know that you're worth,
Mm-hmm.
the best. You're
Yes.
worth, you're
Mm-hmm.
worth that. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yes.
love it. And the recovery is really, for me, it's just been, and I'm not just saying that to your listeners, but it really
Mhm.
does take on a beautiful life of its own, you
Yes.
know,
Yes, it
and
does.
you start to see the leaves, you start to see the trees, you start to
Mm-hmm.
walk down and you just gratitude just I'm grateful for so much every day,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I've come to a place of this thankful appreciation and gratitude,
Mm-hmm.
and that's through just doing these simple steps and being grateful. And people used to say to me, look at 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for every day.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning it was like
Yeah, yeah,
like what?
yeah, yeah.
And then I did it. And I just, even though I didn't feel, I'd start to look for things that we're grateful for. And it was the little things. And that grew and grew and grew. There's some big things, but most of the time it's little things. And it's getting into that constant appreciation of life, and the small things in life that really is magical.
Yeah, absolutely. I love
Yeah.
gratitude. Yeah, I love gratitude, even though not everyone appreciates gratitude. Um,
No.
Sometimes for
No.
some of us, it takes a death, it takes illness for us to wake up to how much we have. Not
Mm.
to make anyone who's rich or have it to feel bad, but to go deeper than materialistic stuff. Like
Absolutely. Yeah.
you've gone, like for you, you've gone on a soul quest, which is one of the
That's
hardest
right.
thing any being can do. I'm being
Hmm.
serious. One of the hardest thing because
Yeah.
it forces you in a loving way with so much light and power to go deep into the core
Yeah.
of what breaks us. And most of us
Totally. And
stay
it's
on the
also,
leaves. We don't go in the roots.
yeah.
It's too scary. It's too hard.
And it is scary, but with, the right guidance and, the right time for yourself, you start to actually realize that, all the bits of you are just as important,
Mhm. Yeah.
you know, the good bits, the not so good bits, the bits that you're angry with. It's just all part of you.
Hmm.
You just bring them together. It's, the beautiful pieces that were fragmented,
Hmm.
put together, they're even more beautiful because they were fragmented, but they've come back together.
Hmm.
And it's recognizing and accepting that we're not perfect,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
uh, and doing your best to kind of, yeah, improve, but, not to beat yourself up for
Hmm.
thinking that you're not perfect. And
Hmm. Yeah. I think the fragment pieces of us, it's like putting a clay pot or bowl or whatever it may be together. It's gonna
yeah,
have little cracks. It's gonna look different, but it's beautiful. That's what
yeah,
I'm trying to get.
absolutely.
I'm trying to get that through as many people as I can.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
you are
called, have you heard
used.
of Kingutsu? Have you heard of Kingkitsu? Kingutsu, Japanese. It's a
Oh,
Japanese word. Have you heard
uh-huh.
of it?
No, no, tell me more.
Can you see me still?
Hmm.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Right, okay. Kingutsu. I'm going to just give you a quick, um, right. So Kingutsu is when the Japanese mend broken objects, they aggrandize the damage by filling the cracks with gold. They believe that when something suffered damage and has a history, it becomes more beautiful.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's called Kingutsu.
Oh, wow, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, it
I
is,
think,
isn't it?
yeah, that's what I've been trying to tell people to see, even
Yeah,
though,
I'll send
yeah,
that to you. It's a
yeah,
Japanese art of putting pots together, but it's even more
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, I'd love
It
that.
has a history. It has a history. It has a,
Mhm.
it's enriching history. And even though it wasn't perfect, putting it back together, it's beautiful.
I love that.
Mm.
Can you tell me what kind of work do you do, and do you have a podcast as well?
I don't have. I'm thinking of having a podcast. And honestly, hats off to you. It is such hard work. So I've been psyching myself up to, doing it. Probably I would start maybe in July, August. I'm trying to get my head around, what the theme would be.
Yeah.
But I'm so my original profession is I'm a dental surgeon.
Hmm.
Um, but with recovery, I've found kind of my true purpose is helping others in counseling. So around food addiction, alcohol recovery.
Hmm.
So, I help people who are struggling really to achieve their kind of best self. And part of that has become what we call future life progression, which is kind of future pacing, future life
Hmm.
progression is just finding your best self because when you can visualize and connect
Hmm.
with your best future self, when you can have
Hmm.
that connection, it starts to help motivate you. It becomes your why for recovery.
Hmm.
It becomes your why for moving forward,
Hmm.
bit by bit by bit. And it just gives you that pull to move forward in a better way.
Hmm.
So all these little things I love kind of, yeah, it's enriching. It's kind of bringing it all together and
Mhm.
blending it and seeing what a
Yeah.
person needs and more guiding than anything.
That's awesome. Um,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
yeah, I've done lots of past life regressions, and I was born open as a child. Um, I don't know. I have some gifts that medium would use. It's not for everybody, but I'm kind of
Yeah, why
I'm
not?
I'm navigating that so I can relate to future life progression. I've been doing lots of past life progressions, meditations, and a lot has been revealed. Yeah, you're a light worker,
Amazing. I love past life
like me,
regression.
a light worker.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
But I think the
yes,
forward life is beautiful because
yes.
you can try on different futures. Nothing's set in stone in that respect. You can, visualizing your best future self and connecting,
Hmm. Yeah,
what
I
would
love.
and your future self thanking you now for doing the things you did to get well so that they can be who they are in the
Mhm,
future.
mhm,
I think that's a very powerful, writing your future self writing to you to say thank you for doing these things. Thank you for doing the program. Thank you for your recovery.
mhm.
Thank you because now I'm this or this or this.
Yeah.
That's one little exercise I think your listeners would
Mhm.
love
Yeah,
to do.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm kind of I'm very. Do you know what the word is for me? Is peace. I'm at peace with myself.
Love
I'm at
that.
peace with myself finally.
Mhm,
I'm at peace.
mhm,
And I'm not constantly at peace, but I know how to
mhm,
get back to feelings of peace very quickly.
mhm,
It's not something where I'm out of my body and upset all the time now. I can kind of quickly get back with the things I do. So just
mhm,
being me, being grounded, being balanced,
mhm,
and looking at the world in a balanced way.
I love that. I think the work you do is it's very important. And
Yeah, I think
whatever's
so.
blending or cooking in the oven, it's gonna be powerful,
Yeah,
right?
it's still work in progress, but
Mhm,
as I said, that's the exciting thing about recovery and mental health, and that you get to live your life again, and you get excited, and you
mhm,
know, you, what can I
mhm.
do today?
Yeah, yeah,
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
mhm, yeah. I just tell people just do it.
Yeah.
Right? Just do it because for years I debated this is what I want to do and then I didn't do it and then like it's precious time flying away and it's
And
important to make
yeah,
the absolute best with our time because it's
yeah,
valuable.
it is. But when you get to that point where you feel, good about life, and that's when you just kind of go, yeah, let's do it,
I agree.
and live every day
Yes.
the best
Yes.
way you can.
Hmm.
Live each day
Hmm.
beautifully. It doesn't have to be live the whole year, but just live each day as beautifully as you can. And then you can say at the end of the day, what was really good today? What was the best thing of the day? And
Hmm.
again, that's about gratitude, and it's just kind of turning your perspective. Your brain's starting to look for good stuff
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we've got what we call the reticular activating system in the brain.
Hmm.
So, like, say somebody wants to buy a yellow car, or I really fancy, I want to buy a yellow car. Then all of a sudden they start seeing yellow cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's what happens. The brain has this system where they start to look for the opportunity. So
Hmm.
if you continue kind of doing the attitude of gratitude,
Hmm. Hmm.
really sincerely, then things start to kind of, oh, wow, okay, things feel good. Oh gosh,
Hmm.
that's cropped up. And that synchronicity comes and that
Yeah.
synergy and the coincidences and life feels nice and that support comes when you least expect it or
Hmm. I agree. It's living in the now. I'm going to speak for myself too, but some of us, I used to be one of those people who did not want to live in the now. I was chasing things I couldn't see. Not that I was
mm,
incapable of accessing them, but I was forcing myself to access them and I was missing in the now.
yeah.
Now that I've gone through what I've been through, and I'm talking to so many incredible, beautiful souls like you, now is now.
Yeah,
We can choose. It's a choice,
it
right?
is.
All of us have the same time. We have free will to choose to make the
Hmm.
best of now. Yesterday is
Yeah.
not here yet. We yesterday passed. Tomorrow's not
Hmm.
here yet. So we're
And
in
today's,
between. What
yeah,
are we gonna do? Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That's a quote, isn't it?
This is where it's, yeah, it's, is it yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery,
Yes,
and today, present is a gift.
yes. It is. I love
And
that
it's
quote.
true. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's a gift.
yeah. So
We
where
have a
can
gift of each day.
yes, where can my listeners find you? They'd like to work with
Okay.
you or come on your new podcast, which I know you're gonna do.
Oh, thank you for having faith in me.
You're welcome.
It's
Mhm.
www.yourfuturelife.co.uk.
Okay. And you can send me the link as well so I can share it on the
Yeah,
podcast description.
I
Um,
will do.
yeah, so do you do your work
Oh,
remotely as well?
I do work remotely. Yeah, mostly remotely. So that's
Okay.
fine. Anywhere in the world, you're welcome to contact me.
Hmm. Before you go, I have five signature questions that I ask every guest.
Ooh.
Yeah, so whoever answers them the fastest at the end of the year, I'm putting it all together. And I
Oh
paint.
my God, no pressure, no pressure.
Yeah, I paint, so I'm
Okay.
gonna be giving my paintings away.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I hope I win.
Yeah. What does potential mean to you?
Potential, the ability to, yeah, see the best parts of you and
Hmm.
go with it.
Hmm. What is your favorite song?
Oh my goodness, my favorite song is oh my goodness, my favorite song. I'm happy.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah,
Who-
Pharrell Williams, I love it.
Yeah. Who is your favorite author?
My favorite author. Oh, at the moment, Anne Jersh,
Hmm.
Future Life Progression. Yeah, I love her. I love
Nice,
the future. Yeah, future timelines. Yeah,
nice. Do you like dogs or cats?
cats.
Me too. Yeah. What is your favorite movie?
Shawshank Redemption, because it
Ooh,
shows you hope when
yes.
there was absolutely no hope. Shawshank is one of my favorites, my top number one.
That's a really good movie. Do
Yeah.
you have any final thoughts, words of inspiration for our listeners?
Yeah, just realize everything is possible, that you can recover, whatever it is that you are recovering from. We're all deserve recovery, we're all capable of it, but we all need that help.
Hmm. Hmm.
So if you are struggling, reach out, help, say a little prayer and just reach out.
Hmm.
And you'd be surprised where that help comes from.
Yes, yes, I agree. Well, thank you so much, Alubani.
Thank
Alubami.
you. Olubunmi, yeah.
Alubami. Thank you so much for being on the
Oh,
podcast.
you're welcome. Thank you so much, Bernadette. I really enjoyed that interview. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.